Why are we landing? Dean wondered after Marilyes had brought a small distance between them and the oasis. Because we are going somewhere, geography is irrelevant. Marilyes answered, his voice still sounded furious. Dean had to admit the sudden outbreak had frightened him enough to want to run away, but the man knew it was his friend, and that he would never really hurt anyone. If father won't help me, then I will have to find someone else. Someone not targeted by those humans. A demon? Dean suggested when his friend opened a door to hell in the sandy ground. Ash and sulfur blew into their faces as they started descending the stairway. A demon is too weak. Marilyes spelled the words. We need someone stronger, someone experienced. There was a strange note in the last sentence that made the Englishman uncomfortable. Marilyes, what are you planning? Just when he started to grow wary of his friend staying reasonable, Marilyes turned to show him a crooked smile. Trust me, mate, he said, a lot softer now. Dean could see hell's many streets and inhabitants from far above while they descended. It was even warmer than the desert, and he had to slow down as the heat struggled to provide him with the much-needed oxygen. The last time Dean had been in hell, the place had felt miserable, and one had gotten the notion of being in constant danger. But now the fires felt cleansing and warm, and the streets were free of dust. The screaming, too, had grown less from the souls residing in their rooms. Upon letting his thoughts wander on the journey below, Dean wondered. Why did you create a spell to open a door to hell when you can open a door to hell any time? Marilyes kept staring ahead as he looked for the best explanation. The spell was my end of a deal with an old man who wanted to see hell, for he sincerely believed he would go to heaven. Being unable to contain his curiosity, he had searched for me. Did you take his soul? No, I told him I wouldn't strike a bargain without having what he wanted. I gave the spell to a group of quite capable demons for them to research the whole thing. That was the part where I wrote the spell itself. But the rest was a mystery to me. When I heard it was possible, I returned with the good news. But? Dean asked when his friend hesitated. A smile formed when the devil resumed his tale. He had died of sickness. To my surprise, I found he really had gone to heaven. Therefore, I abandoned the idea and never looked at the results. We were lucky that the spell reached the earthly sphere. You knew it could have just been a wild goose chase. I did, Marilyes confessed. But I was desperate and you didn't know. You used me, Dean stated without feeling hurt. I guess I did. I mean, in my defense, you never asked. Very true, and I definitely don't regret my choice. Upon seeing Dean's mischievous grin, Marilyes returned the gesture. That makes two of us, then. Reaching the end of the stairwell to hell, the man saw a demon mopping the hallway. His movements were hasty, and his face showed tension as the water applied to clean the ground evaporated almost instantly in the heat. One of the demon's blue-gray feathered wings was severely burned, and he wore a Roman toga of the same color. Seeing the king of hell, he quickly interrupted his task and approached the two. Lord Lucifer, I cleaned the corridors for over a week now with utmost precision. He spoke, having saluted as a sign of respect. The gesture revealed a large scar on the right arm, disfiguring it as much as the burnt black wing. But Thorican, Marilyes started, wrapping his arm around the demon as if they were best friends. Who was it that forgot to pay attention when cleaning the hellhound's room, causing it to run through the streets where it mouthed the soul of a masochist? Well, me, the demon uttered, ashamed of his carelessness. And what was my sentence? A month of mopping the hallways. The demon sighed heavily. There you go, then. And next time you should not let a hellhound out of your sight. Yes, sir. Thorrican said without any enthusiasm, and collected the by now empty bucket to refill it. You once said there are no friends among demons, Dean said when they were alone again. It seems my way of leading hell did meet more friendly ears than I thought, especially after Cain's short but merciless rule. They might be fallen, but they are still angels. You know, you could just sweep the hallways. Dean mused, still observing the demon who tried to make the best of his sentence. But that wouldn't do the trick now, would it? The King of Hell replied with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Walking down the great street, the man saw a large creature come towards them. It was as big as a house and covered in creamy fur. Twisted black horns grew from its skull, which showed two small malicious eyes. On its back, Dean saw angel wings, white as snow, but all in all, the creature seemed to be out of place, as if someone had tried to sew together parts of different beings to make something new. Dean looked at Marielias, whose painful-looking scar had once again become visible in the revealing atmosphere of hell. Who are those? Obviously hearing him, the large creature shot Dean a hateful look mingled with agony. They are the accursed Nephilim, truly evil creatures. I only let them have their way with the really wicked souls. Is that what happens when an angel falls in love with a human? I doubt it was love, Dean. More like pure defiance. A creature born of ill will leads a life of miserable torment, and I think that's exactly what the Nephilim embody. Have you tried to redeem them? Believe me, I did, but their evil is until now far above my pay grade. The essence of angels is corrupting to humans. There's nothing I can do about it. They went on through the endless streets where demons conducted their business. Some exited rooms, some entered rooms, some were in a hurry to reach their next destination or fulfill a task. Others took the time to bow to their king before continuing on their path. Sometimes steps led up the high structures on the outside, leading to even more rooms. Although not all demons used them, some managed to fly gracefully due to almost undamaged wings. Others fled clumsily to make use of their better body parts, while others again were content with walking. It reminded Dean a bit of a group of redcoats he'd once seen with his father. He'd seen the soldiers scarred and wounded from endless campaigns for the crown. Some had been blind, others had lost a leg or an arm, and all of them had to adjust to life by making use of their broken bodies as best they could. His thoughts went back to his father's words. Those are the ones dying and paying for our prosperous safety, Dean. Treat them with respect, for they have been to hell already and came back. You save a lot of people, Father. No one ever pays attention to you. Aiden smiled warmly at his son before answering. People are strange, Dean. They cling to this privileged life, but the sight of guns makes them uneasy. The knowledge of magic would lead to unnecessary troubles among civilians. They keep away from the front lines and feel safe. They ignore the old soldier on the street and try to deny his existence. Dean pondered a moment but could do nothing more than shoot his father a puzzled look. I'm not sure I understand, he uttered, ashamed of his lacking insight. One day you will take my place. You will understand the curse of ignorance once you do, and you will see the small luxuries of acting behind the stage. Marielias walked with ease. He even seemed to smile from time to time. After crossing alleys and rounding structures so many times that Dean lost any orientation, they came to another staircase. The stony steps hidden in the shadow of two high towers led into even lower depths. I always thought hell had only one floor. It isn't another floor, Marielias answered. This is a passageway to another plane. Deeper there, deeper in the earth. You still didn't tell me who you are looking for. You wouldn't thank me if I did, mate. Dean didn't move a muscle when Elias resumed his journey. Noticing only his own footsteps sounding, he turned around with a questioning look on his face. "Talk to me, Elias." The fallen angel adjusted his head, indicating his nervous state. "Father won't help. Angels are targeted and searched for. We need information, we need strength, and we need it from someone who proves to be a valid source." Elias looked now straight into Dean's eyes with his golden ones. "What we need is a watcher." The Englishman was lost for words for a moment. Are you sure?" was all he could say. "They are evil and dangerous, are they not?" He added carefully. "I am aware of that, Dean, but I have no other option. I don't want to lose Michael. And even if I don't like the others, even Gabriel doesn't deserve such a fate." Pushing down the uneasiness he felt about the whole idea, Dean saw that it truly was their only option. He only hoped an archangel and an occultist would be enough to stop the possible rampage of a watcher. The path was narrow and dark and steep. In order to see, and in hope of driving the sinister feeling out of his soul, Dean summoned the elemental again. They walked for a long time, and at one point Hell's stony walls vanished completely. Only mist and darkness surrounded them. It was cold and empty, and the man was sure if he would fall, then he would fall through the emptiness forever. When the stairs ended, they found solid ground beneath their feet, although Dean could see none. Elias quickly grabbed him when he tried to take another step ahead. Too late did he realize that their narrow path was only 3 feet wide. "Keep close to me," his friend said in a voice that sounded unusually hollow in the dour air. Even the tiger's light seemed duller than it had been on their way down. Elias turned to his left, where a door appeared after a while. Walking around in the strange realm seemed to help Dean see things clearer. The solid ground they walked on was of a slightly deeper shade of black than the rest. The narrow path stretched on in a whirlpool-like fashion. The vague outlines of doors along the downwards winding path must have been the cells of the imprisoned watchers. Carefully, very carefully, Dean dared to peer over the rim and into the darkness below. He wondered how many watchers there were and how deep the deadly dangerous path went. Elias took a key from his pocket and opened the first door. Inside, it wasn't any brighter than outside. In the corner of the room, Dean saw the figure of a tall man. Chains and shackles were wrapped around the torso and extremities, which would clink at the slightest motion. When they entered, the clanking of chains sounded. In the same instant, the metal started to glow, at first in a dull red, then it turned white, and the smell of burnt flesh filled the cell. The watcher ceased to move and gasped from the pain, yet his olive-green eyes kept staring at the two friends. He had golden brown hair, but imprisonment had turned it matte, and the feathers of the same color looked dirty and disordered. His clothing consisted of a military uniform in orange and yellow, although his armor had been taken from him, leaving him with only a torn tunic reaching to his lower legs. "You are Samyasa, if I'm not wrong," Elias addressed the prisoner, who only fixed them through the strands of hair that had fallen into his face. "And what does the fallen want from a watcher?" "A deal?" Samyasa only laughed. It was arrogant, mad, and full of contempt. The movement made the chains rattle, whereupon they grew hot for a second time, forcing the angel to stop. Clenching his teeth, he endured the hot iron on his skin and waited for them to grow cold again. "A deal," he echoed, taunting Elias with his eyes. "What could you possibly offer me?" "A vacation from this place in exchange for your help." Samyasa pondered for a moment. He seemed to actually debate if it was worth it. "What kind of help?" "Saving Michael and the others from peril." "Saving heaven." You expect me to save those who cut me down and keep me in chains. It was pure fury that spoke. Dean could see the trembling, clenched fists and was, for the first time, grateful for the restraining chains. Perhaps you should think about why they put you in chains in the first place, Merlice returned the argument. Leave me alone, Lightbringer, he mocked. Leave me to my miserable existence. One day I shall rise and you will pay for your insolence. Seeing their attempt failed, they left the cell. Do you think the others will react differently? Dean asked while his friend locked the cell to move on. Samyasa was the leader of the Watchers. Is the leader of the Watchers, he corrected himself. I didn't expect anything else from him. Struggling on along the narrow path next to the bottomless pit, they went to the next door. That cell contained a female Watcher with blood-red hair. Being as much a fanatic as Samyasa, she didn't even hear them out, but yelled at them to leave, claiming that she would never betray her leader. The search went on to the point when Dean could feel his legs wobble from the exhausting tension, but he refrained from saying anything. He would ask for a rest after they had left the prison and its inhabitants. Duardale's atmosphere made him feel observed, as if the strange place was alive in a very treacherous way. The crawling mist seemed to try to trick him into taking a wrong step to send him slipping into the dark abyss. Reaching the sixth door, Merlice stopped. If I'm not wrong, then this next cell is Azazel's. What's different about him? He's a master tactician and powerful in the ways of magic. Don't listen too much to him, he will try to manipulate you. Perhaps we should rather leave him, Dean suggested, afraid of being used without noticing it. Merlice shook his head. That's the thing, mate. He's a strategist. He might be the only one to agree to help us with the intent to turn the tables. The moment they entered the cell, Dean felt Merlice's warning ring true. Having his movements restrained by the tortuous chains like all the others, Azazel sat in his cell, although his bearing made the impression of him sitting on a throne. His deep blue eyes followed them vigilantly, and a knowing smile curved his lips. It was the silence and the calm that gave Azazel such authority, not less intimidating than Samyasa's. Dean wondered if the watcher in front of him had been the backbone of leadership in case Samyasa was busy or wounded. Azazel too was without any armor. A long strip of anthracite cloth was wrapped around his midriff up to the chest. Below the waist he wore some kind of trousers Dean had seen in Japanese paintings, of the same color, and a jacket in the same Japanese fashion. What stood out to Dean, however, were the wings, colored like the ones of a falcon. Lucifer, he said with a voice as smooth as his long black hair, since when do you keep humans as pets? I have a proposal for you, Merlice answered, ignoring the cynical question. Of course you do. Why else would you come to me, if not out of desperate need for help? Dean concluded with a shudder that Azazel was indeed cleverer than the other Watchers. I could give you the chance to get some fresh air for a bit of your help. What might give you the authority to free a Watcher? The possession of a key, for one, Merlice countered, holding up the key he used to open the cells. Going against your father's instructions, Azazel mocked. You're not the Lightbringer anymore. You lost the title and you fell. At least I kept my freedom, Merlice snarled while he walked closer to rattle the prisoner's chains. At once the metal grew hot, scorching the skin of its captive. Azazel tried to suppress a groan without success. Merlice, stop! Dean called out, shocked by the sudden cruelty. His friend's fear for Michael must have caused his vicious outbreak. Merlice had never been like that as long as Dean had known him. Azazel's blue eyes gazed at the Englishman, but there was no gratefulness in them. Catching his breath, the Watcher chuckled softly. You are desperate, Lightbringer. What could it be that weighs so heavy on your soul? That is none of your concern, Paralyze answered coldly, his hand already touching the chains again. Dean saw the prisoner brace himself for another wave of pain that never came. I'm not eager to play games, Azazel. Apparently, the captive spoke without malice. His mind seemed far away as he thought about the deal. Even the black bird strikes for the sunrise, he uttered, obviously lost in thought. I accept, but don't expect me to bow to you, Lightbringer. You are as tainted as I am. No, Paralyze said, producing the key and starting to free the watcher. You are not just tainted, you are corrupted by it.